What if Adam wasn't just the first man, but the first throne? Before sin entered the world, a soul was formed to house all of heaven. This is not just a story about a man. It's about what heaven saw when God made you. After 5 days of glory, God did not rest. He paused, not to admire, but to prepare, because something greater than beasts and angels was about to emerge. A being to carry not just life, but the likeness of God himself. And then the voice echoed through eternity, "Let us make man." But who was he speaking to? Not just to the angels. Not only within the circle of the Trinity. God was speaking to everything he had made, to light, wind, water, fire. To spirit, substance, and silence. To himself. He summoned all of creation into divine collaboration to form a vessel that could contain him and reflect all that he is. A being in whom eternity and dust would meet. A soul that could host the infinite. A mirror of the invisible. In the beginning, the Spirit of God hovered over the waters of the earth. Not in rest, but in search. Searching for a place to dwell. But he found none until day 6. When Adam rose from the clay, and finally there stood a being worthy of his Spirit's rest. That is why the Bible says, "And God rested on the 7th day." But he who never sleeps nor slumbers didn't rest in sleep. He rested in man's soul. This was the true Sabbath, and this is why Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who labor, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11, verse 28. Adam was not just alive, he was anointed. God breathed his breath into clay and made a temple. Not a temple built by hands, but of blood and thought and glory. In our image, in our likeness. Genesis 1, verse 26. Adam rose not as a servant, but a sovereign. He was crowned with dominion. Rule over the fish, the birds, and every living thing. And so he did. The wind obeyed his gesture. The beasts bowed at his name. Creation worshipped him. He was the God of this world, not in deity, but in delegation. 2 Corinthians 4, verse 4, the earth was his kingdom. And when he fell, he sold the throne to Lucifer. But Adam was more than a man, he was a living prophecy. Christ is called the last Adam, 1 Corinthians 15, verse 45. Why? Because the first Adam was his blueprint. A king, a priest, a temple, whose entire being whispered of the one who would come to finish what he failed. And when Adam stood, all creation marveled. Though angels were more powerful, Adam was made to house not just authority, but God himself. That's why Jesus said, "What shall it profit a man if he gains the world and loses his soul?" Mark 8, verse 36, because the soul was more precious than galaxies. It is the seat of God's throne. This is why the mad ant of the Gadarenes, tormented by spirits, cried night and day. His soul was meant for God, but it was polluted. When Jesus asked his name, he said Legion, because over 1,000 demons had found access to that soul. Even Mary Magdalene had 7 devils cast out because the soul is not just a mind, it's a realm. It was not good for Adam to be alone. So God reached into his side and formed his bride, Eve, the sanctuary within the temple, not created from earth, but from Adam's own substance. She was delicate, yes, but woven with divine intelligence. Beauty refined, discernment alive. Yet whenever Adam was away, the serpent came to speak, not with violence, but with words. Because the woman was designed to respond to sound. Women are stirred by what they hear. And Eve, she wanted to hear more. The serpent didn't go to Adam, because Adam could not be deceived. 1 Timothy 2, verse 14, he held the mind of God. He saw too clearly. So the serpent went for Eve not to dishonor her, but to reach Adam through her. He aimed at the bride to bring down the groom. She fell, not out of rebellion, but out of wonder. And Adam saw. He stood still. He understood. He knew God. He had God's mind. And he knew God would come. Even if he fell, God would come. So Adam made the choice, not in confusion, but in sacrificial love. He gave up immortality. He chose to join Eve in death rather than reign alone in paradise. But didn't God curse him? No. God cursed the ground. Genesis 3, verse 17, he cursed the woman in pain. He cursed the serpent in dust. But Adam? He couldn't curse him, because Adam was part of himself, his own breath, his own image. God cannot curse what bears himself. So he covered them. Blood fell for the first time. A lamb died and man was clothed. Why skins? Because fig leaves can't cover what sin exposes. Without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. Hebrews 9, verse 22. So Adam waited. He built altars. He taught his sons to sacrifice. He believed the promise, the seed of the woman shall crush the serpent's head. Genesis 3, verse 15, and deep in his spirit, he whispered, God will come. Even if I fall, he will rise. The first Adam chose love over immortality. The second Adam chose death to give immortality back. One gave up heaven to join the bride in her fall. The other gave up heaven to lift her into glory. Adam's silence cost the world paradise. Christ's silence before his accusers opened Eden again. The first Adam was the pattern. The second Adam, the fulfillment. The first gave up glory. The second gave glory to us. You are the bride. He has not forgotten you. Come home. Subscribe and share.